Here's a thing I made in Geogebra. It was inspired by some lovely things I saw on the internet, and I'm going to show you from scratch how we made it. I want to try a live Geogebra build because I saw something cool and I wondered if I could make it. And building it live and charting that process is an experiment I'm trying at the moment. So a quick introduction then. The thing I saw, it was on Twitter. It's a nice little animation. It's a very physical thing. I think it's called a Moiré illusion, where transparent things with the regular structure overlay, and you can see it happening here. This tweet was from Masaya Ishikawa, and it's done some numbers. It's great. Beautiful things, circles appearing, illusory circles. And what I immediately wondered is, could I make a sort of interactive Geogebra one that we can play with without physically getting our hands in? Now, I'm all for getting physical with things, but sometimes it's nice to have an interactive version which we can build sort of virtually, because then we can easily change it without having to rebuild the physical thing. Both have some value. So let's have a try. I'm going to start with a blank Geogebra window and check that you can see everything. I'm using Geogebra Classic 5. Other dynamic geometry packages are available. I'm not trying to push Geogebra, Autograph, Desmos, all these things exist. The point is that making things move is really easily accessible to people now. And let's just see how we get on. I'm going to try and build this effect where we have two layers and we kind of overlay one to get a sort of surprising illusion underneath. So I'm starting with Geogebra Classic 5. It's the downloaded version. You could run it just as well on the web. And maybe some non-standard things. I have my input bar at the top. On the web, you have the input bar as part of the algebra window here. It might be at the bottom in your version. It doesn't really matter. You can move them all around, and that's why actually I prefer the downloaded version. You've got a bit more customizable stuff. First job though, I'm going to make the background black. And actually what I might do is create a second graphics window which I can use to put sliders on. So a few things happen when you make the background black. First of all, you notice the axes disappear. They don't disappear, they were black. And actually, again, right-click graphics properties, you can change the axes to be white. I don't think I'm going to need the axes, but for now, let's do that. I also probably don't want the grid, so I'm just going to turn that off, this button here. If you can't see these buttons, by the way, it's those buttons. But let's just leave it like that for now. I'm going to make the second graphics window visible. Oh, it's put it up here. When you originally make the graphics, you can drag these around, right? So maybe it'll turn up over there for you, and it's black already for me for some reason. I'm going to put that at the top, and I'm going to put sliders and things that I want to control the screen separately from the place where I do the graphics. And the algebra window, I'm eventually going to sort of undock. So if I pop it out here, it's gone off the screen here, but I've got a floating window. Really useful for when you want to make a finished file that doesn't have that there, but I'm just going to dock it back in there for now. Okay, all I've done so far is make the background black. Let's build a point. I'm going to build a point at the origin. I'm going to call it O, so I don't have to type in 0, 0 every time. It's labeled at O. I probably don't want things to get labeled from now on, so I'm going to turn off the labeling of new objects. And the first thing I need to do, I think, my plan is I'm going to draw spokes on the background, white spokes, and that's just a background, right? Like it was printed. But the difficult bit is I want to have something similar on top, which I can move around. And for that, it's not quite like Photoshop. I can't sort of build the spokes and then make them transparent, like sort of create a mask out of it. Well, I think I actually need to build the black segments that go between the spokes and just leave gaps, which I haven't quite figured out how to do yet. First things first, let's get a bunch of spokes. I'm going to build a circle. They had a sort of round circle at the center of the image. I'm just going to call that radius 1. So I'm going to type in circle. All Geogebra commands, you start typing them and it will guess what you mean, and you can autocomplete. You can go and hunt for them, or you can use them in the toolbar. But to be honest, if you know the command exists, typing it is good. So center of O, which I define radius 1, there it is. It's black. Let's make it a different color for now so I can see it. I can make it black, and I'm actually going to make it sort of more opaque. Maybe I'll turn off O eventually as well, and then I'll make this black, and the axes won't need to be there. Let's also, I'm going to just zoom in with my mouse wheel. Let's also make a point at the top, which I think I'm going to use to rotate a point on the edge around. And actually, I still need to control how many lines I'm going to build. And I did count the original. I think they had 36, but we're building this in Geogebra, so I'm going to make it variable. I'm going to use the slider command on the graphics too. The problem here is it's going to appear black. So we just need to make sure we can see it. Let it go up to 40 in increments of 1. And if you can't see it where to select it, it is there. My cursor's changing, but you can always click on algebra properties. Let's change the color to white, and now we can see it. Now I've got a variable which does nothing. What I'm going to do first, I think, then is build some points around the circle with which to construct some lines from the origin through those points. So the big command I'm going to use here is the sequence command. And you can use it to create a sequence of numbers. It makes a list, or you can make a sequence of anything you can build in Geogebra. So that's what I'm going to do here. I'm going to make a... No, I'm not. I need to build a point first. I'm going to make a point at 0, 1. So that's appeared at the top here. A, has it? Just checking. Oh, it's appeared on graphics 2. So let's just make sure things are turning up on graphics 1. That's how I change where they appear. There it is. It's not labeled because I've asked it not to label new points, which is fine. And that one I'm going to start to rotate around to get a bunch of points. 24 at the moment, according to my variable. So now I use my sequence command. And it's the sequence of things you want to repeat, and then it has an index which it just chugs through to create a list of them. So we're going to rotate object A, it's called, I think, an angle of 2 pi is all the way around the circle. So divide that into n bits, and that should just give me the n points that go around it, 24 in this case. But I need it to work through those. So it's going to multiply that by an index, a dummy variable. I've called it I. You could use any letter here, and I don't think Geogebra would mind, as long as the letter's not already defined in your file. I'm just going to get confused about it. Now, I itself is a number. It's a complex number. It's a great number, but so that's why I'm using I. I think it would be fine with I even, but just if you get weird bugs, it might be to do with the labeling of your dummy variable. Just change it and see what happens. So I is the dummy variable, I rather, and I want it to start from 0, so it's going to recreate that point A then, and then it's going to go around to n minus 1. I could go from 1 to n, doesn't really matter. I'm just going to go 0 to n minus 1. And look, there are the points. That's nice, they're sort of hidden behind the circle, but they're there, and let's just check it changes with the variable good, or I've already got an improvement in its interactive. I can change the number of points. Doesn't look like the raise yet. Let's leave it at the 36 they built with. And now I'm going to use another really useful command when working with the sequence command. It's called the zip command, which will zip together other lists that you maybe built from a sequence command. It might even not need several lists, or that you can use several lists. You can just sort of chug through a list you've already made. Now you can do that the long way with a sequence command. I'll talk about the elements in the sequence, but this is a quick way. So what I want to do is build a bunch of arrays that go through the points in that list. And I think this is going to be easy enough. So there's an array, a one-ended line, if you like. It wants a start point and a point to go through. So let's choose the start point is always going to be O. By the way, when I press tab, it jumps to the next argument in the function. That helps me a lot. It's one reason why I like the downloaded version. It doesn't quite behave like that in the online versions. There are ways through it, but my intuition is sort of built on this one at the moment. Each array, though, I want to go from the origin to a point in my list, which is, the list is called itself L1 because I didn't give it a name. We can change that later. I'm going to use capital P twice to sort of tell me there's an index to work through, and we'll grab those points, if you like, the P's from list called L1. And I don't need any of the other arguments here, so let's see what happens. Oh, it's already done it. Press return. It's sort of entered there. And it's actually put it on graphics 2 again, because I think that's the last thing I clicked on. This is going to happen a lot, probably. You can always right click on it and change it to graphics 1. Now they're green. But let's just check there we go. We've got some nice rays. In fact, I'm going to turn off the coordinate grid now. Let's just get the pure rays coming out. That's nice. I like it. Let's make them white. Why not? We want them to eventually be white. They are fully opaque. We could make them thick. Let's make them as thick as we can. These are shortcuts, by the way. And again, I can't remember if I said you can hide and show the shortcut bar, but you can always right-click the properties of the thing and go to color and style, and you've got thickness and opacity and all sorts of things there. Maybe my circle should now go black. I don't think we need it to be blue. We know where it is. I wonder, maybe dark grey so I can tell where it is just in case. I don't need to see point A. All the other points are there. So that's my backdrop done. I could even hide point O for now. Now, what do I need? I need a movable overlay. I haven't quite worked out how to do this yet. What? If I make a point and build everything off a point, then we should be right. So I've just clicked a point on the screen. It's labeled it B. I've asked it to turn off labeling. But yeah, that's point B. Let's just go with that. I can remember that's point B. And I'm going to build, first of all, a circle around that. And it should move if I move point B. And I think I'm going to have to build some sectors rather than the lines, the rays, like I did before. I want to build the sectors to sort of block off the bit that you're not meant to be able to see through. I'm not quite sure how that's going to work yet. So let's build a circle first. So circle command point B this time, radius 1 arbitrarily. I can just about see it there. Let's make it opaque. Do it the long way this time. Light color, I want it black, and let's make it opaque. There it is. Kind of confusing already because it's invisibly blending. I'll just make it red for now so I can see what's going on. And I check it moves okay. That's fine. You can see I can drag the circle and it's fine, or I can drag the point. Eventually I'll turn the point off, I think. Okay. Now I want some sectors. Maybe I want them infinitely long, but that might confuse Geogebra. I could just make a much bigger circle that's like off the edge of the screen and sort of do sectors of that. What do I mean? Let's try. I don't know if this is what we need yet, but let's make another circle centered on B, radius 40. It's like much, much bigger. I expect to not be able to see this, actually. It's built it, but yeah, it's way off the screen. If I made that opaque, then I would expect this to hide everything. Yeah, so I don't want to do that. That's just going to be a... I don't even need it, that circle. There was I want to think of a circle of points to build some sectors around. But the points could just exist. Actually, so I don't need that circle. Let's build a point that's way up there. Now, if I rotate that around to get some of the endpoints for the sectors. So I'm going to say a point which is the same as B plus, let's go vertically up. So 0, 40, I said, didn't I? Arbitrarily, that could be huge. Or it could be nothing if I didn't want to worry about it. Anyway, the point is you can add points together in Geogebra, a little bit like adding vectors. Vectors and points are somehow the same thing. We use them differently, but this understands if you have a point B and you want to add another point to it, you just go up like in that vector. So it's made a point C. It's off the top of my screen. I wonder if I should make it visible to start with. Should we just do it at a distance of 2 for now? Yeah, so it's up there. If I build some sectors, I should just be able to increase that. I don't know. So I want the points around the circle again, but if I just make sector... Yeah, the sector command, let's work out what that needs. There is a sector here, but it wants a conic, so I think it's a more general sector of a conic curve. And I think what I want is a circular sector. I'm pretty sure there's a circular sector. There it is. So starting to type a command is a useful way. By the way, if you don't know what commands exist, then there's always a little help button over here, which pops up all the commands in Geogebra, and there's a geometry bunch. There are the circular ones. And clicking on one like the sector gives you the arguments it needs, and you can always click on show online help if you need it. Incidentally, if you are stuck on what a tool does, a graphical tool, you can hover over it like that, or you can just click the little help button here and it tells you how that tool works. And super useful, I think, when you're learning and when you're not learning, because you forget what every tool does. However, I'm going to do it with the typed commands. So let's just get all the sectors, and I somehow need to leave gaps between them, but I haven't sorted that out in my head yet. So I'm going to build a sequence of sectors. How am I doing this? Sequence. Circular sector. Maybe I should build one first. No, maybe it's sensible to try and do one. Let's do a circular sector and then to get a flavor for it, and then we'll repeat it. So centered on B, and then it's telling me from one point to another point, and everything is anti-clockwise in maths and in Geogebra. So for now, I'm going to go from C, which is that point I made above the orange circle, to a point 2 pi divided by n around. That's it. Why doesn't it like that? Because it wants... so it needs a point, not an angle. I wonder if it could take an angle or something, but let's rotate the point C by that. And not about the origin this time, though. It's got to rotate about B, and I think that's how that command works. In fact, if I was not sure, what I'd be doing now is typing rotate and thinking, yeah, okay, object angle. I think if you don't tell it a point, it'll rotate about the origin. So I need to tell it to rotate around B. Rotate object C by 2 pi over n for the first one around B. Close that bracket, done. Right, I've got a sector. No rocket science. So I actually just want a sequence of that. So let's try that again. There's the command. By the way, pressing down drops up, in my case down. I think if the input bar's at the bottom, pressing up gives you your recent commands. So that's the one that worked. I'm going to put that into a sequence of those things, but we're going to work our way around. So we're going to do an index again. You can use the same index as other sequences. It's like a sort of dummy variable within that little function. And I want I to run from 0 to n-1 again. I think that will work. Why is it not looking right? Sequence circular sector. Why? What? Why doesn't it like that? Oh, because I haven't closed the bracket. Is that it? Circular sector's got too many arguments. I've got to close that. Okay, now too many brackets there. Bracket times. Okay, so what's happened here? It looks like it's... Oh, I haven't changed the starting point of the sector. I've got to rotate both ends of the sector. Okay, fine. This is what live construction feels like. Yeah, so my sector is starting at C and going a bit further around. So we've got loads of overlapping things. Nice gradation. Not what I wanted. So yeah, how do I do this? I need to rotate the starting point as well. So rotate C by 2 pi over n times I. Okay, so the start point can go like that, about B. And the end point should go one further. So the brackets are confusing me here, but I think II plus 1 will work. Please? Yes. I think. Let's build. I'm going to delete my practice segment. Sector. That's looking good. Let's just check it works with the the background changes too. Good. Okay, those are all the sectors. Now I need to leave gaps between them. I don't know how big a gap we'll need. So I'm going to create another slider. I think this is quite a useful technique to make an artistic aesthetic decision. Have a slider so you can tweak it visually, and then you just hide that slider. So let's call this a gap command. I don't even know what numbers it needs to be or how I'm going to use it. Let's go between 0 and 1. Go up in tiny increments just in case we need to. Oh, guess what? It's black. Let's make it white so I can see it. It might have been sensible to have my graphics 2 with a white background, so I didn't need to bother with this. But whatever. I've got a slider that doesn't do anything now. I want to use that to build some gaps between the sectors. So double clicking a command, by the way, builds up this redefine thing. You could just go right click and go into properties. This window's ever so slightly annoying. Okay, so I want it to skip tiny bits. I think I just need to rotate a little bit more at the start of each sector and a little bit less to leave a gap. So I feel like I'm going to add a bit on the angle at the beginning of the sector. So let's call that, just add the gap. I have no idea what I've set that to. And at the end, whatever angle it's got, I want it to sort of take a bit off. So let's call it take away gap. That didn't work. Or maybe the gap's just too big. You know what? That's what it is, isn't it? So if the gap is 0, we're back where we were. If the gap is a small number, it leaves gaps. Now, let's just check where the gaps are, because this is not opaque yet. I'm going to crank up this slider for it, but there we go. That is what I kind of wanted it to do, but what it was doing originally, I guess, was very hard to see because the gaps were sort of like just moving those points way around the circle. Okay, that's why I made a slider for it. So I think this needs to be quite small. Ooh, I don't really know how small for visual effects, so let's leave it down at something like that. Now, they're not quite the parallel lines that the background lines are, but I haven't got a better way. They're kind of radial lines, and so they were getting wider. I don't think that's going to matter. We'll find out. Now I've got this, I'm going to increase the radius of the circle, which was based on the point C. So I'm going to just crank them up to 40. And right, that's covering. Oh, it's already working. Now we've got some layer issues. You can tell I'm getting excited. I can see it working. I'm pleased about this. So first of all, Geogebra works on layers a little bit like a painting package does. So this original circle, click on properties and click on advanced, you can see it's on layer 0. What I could do is put everything on the mask sheet on layer 1. Any layer, in fact, higher than 0. It works in that order. So it's the orange circle and the sectors there. I use control to select both of those, by the way. Properties of them. Let's put them on layer 1, and I think that will overlay. Yeah, so it's now over the top of the other things. I think that's all I needed. And obviously, I don't really want these colors. I think it's working. I'm trying to contain my excitement. I want the circle to be black, so let's do that. Let's just pick black, and it's fully opaque. Oof, we're getting there. And I want these sectors to be... Why have they gone black as well? Oh, had I already selected them as well? Yeah, they're black as well. And I can just about see the previous circle in the... It's working already. Like, it's surprising me that we got there. I kind of want to zoom out, so I could just zoom out with my mouse wheel, but look at that. It's nice. I kind of want to see the original circle a bit better. So maybe I'll make my circle on the outside not quite pure black, because that's the thing we need to be able to grab around, right? And that went off screen for you. Sorry. Let's just make it dark grey, silver apparently. That's okay. It gives me, and maybe I'll make the other one. What is it? It's already dark grey, isn't it? Okay, let's make it also silver, and we'll see where the rays cross it. That's okay. That kind of gives our reference point. We know when we are lining things. Oh, look at that. Okay, what else do I want? I can just check the gap, so I can change the gap in the lines. Okay, don't make that too big. I need to change the parameters on that. Let's do that now while I remember. The gap should go between 0 and like 0.05 by the look of things. I'm guessing slightly. Now we've got a bit better control over that. If it's 0, you don't get anything. If it's too small, you don't see much. But if it's too big, you get, I don't know. I don't know what this aesthetic decision. Let's leave it at 0.02. And moving this around is nice. Maybe I want to increase the number of lines. Look at that. We had 36 on the original. I counted them twice. 40's better. But because it's built it now, I can change it. I'm already enjoying myself. Maybe if you want to center it in the right place, you can always just type the center view command. And I'm going to pick, center it on the origin. Maybe I zoom out a bit. I can do that with a mouse wheel. Or if I've got it centered, I just use the zoom out command. Let's go out by a factor of 2. Too small, maybe. Let's zoom back in. 1.5 from there. Yeah, maybe that's what I want. I think from scratch, that's a good starting point. Now, there's lots of tinkering I might do. The last thing I might do before I sign off this video is if I pop the algebra window out, then hide that off screen. I've still got that visible off screen here, but I've got a file which is a little bit more ready for sharing with people, maybe putting into the online Geogebra materials, which is what I will do with this. But maybe I don't need the gap. What? Changing the gap. Let's play with it while we got it. It's kind of nice too. I don't know which I prefer. A really tiny gap, not too small. Well, that's an aesthetic decision. Which, if I make this interactive, I was about to hide the gap slider, which I can do just by show object. There it is, and go back to the algebra window. Ooh, over here, I can just turn that back on. The dot on the algebra window also does it. Let's leave it visible. So if you want to go and play with this file, you can. And yeah, I think maybe I could change the size of the window, but I'm going to sign off for now. So we built sort of the Moiré illusion from scratch in Geogebra. This was a live take, and I think I'm pleased with it. I might go and tinker with it, but I'll also upload it to the Geogebra materials, and I'll put the links to the original tweet and to the file I've made in the description. And I'm going to go and play with this for a while now. Hope it was fun. Hope it was interesting. And if you got to the end and it was neither of those two things, I think you should learn to stop when you get bored in future. See you next time.